and all have experience as Vistage chairs. We have some connection that way. And you might have noticed, I'm sure, all of a sudden there's a degree of familiarity with the other folks who are here in their level of informal conversation. I don't want that to be a case of making you feel unwelcome or isolated. So I just wanted you to be aware that this group had been meeting for a while, so therefore the connectivity personal wise is there. But as we introduce ourselves, you'll get some sense of where everybody else is. Now, I don't know Steve Montana, and I don't know where Steve Montana is coming from. Does anybody?
Steve Montana. Steve.
Montana.
That's our Montana.
Steve. That's our Steve.
Our Steve.
Our Steve Montana.
That's our Steve.
That's Steve Bentley, the CMO.
Yeah.
Unrelated to Joe Montana.
Yeah. He's been
There
away.
he is. There he is.
Didn't recognize him.
Hi, Steve.
That's Steve Santa Claus Montana.
Yes. Good morning, Steve. It's early in the morning out there.
Having a bad hair day.
Enough for me.
Good to see you, Steve.
If you want to kick us off for introductions,
Okay.
I just want to make everybody feel welcome.
About introducing myself, and most of you guys all know me, and we still got people coming in. Barry just joined us, but I've been here from almost the beginning with Ed, and I am running this meeting. But I would like to point out that next month we have every slot filled with somebody else with a presentation rather than me just running a meeting. And this morning, Ed is going to help me with this meeting and do a whiteboard. I'll tell you anything about myself. Grew up in the deep South and got into IT, and that made it work for me. Try to keep it brief, and I'll turn it over to Jim.
Good morning, everyone. Most of the people know me in both groups. I'm in Colorado Springs, and happy to be here today. And I'll pass it on to Jeff, who's next to me on the screen.
Thanks, Jim. I'm Jeff Bates. I'm originally from Indiana. I grew up in Indiana. I live in Florida now. I'm an author, a poet. I think of myself as a social visionary and kind of like a storytelling crazy person. I'm glad I've been in YARcce about 6 months, and I'm learning a lot. I'm looking forward to learning more about the blockchain and why it's so important. And I'm happy to be here this morning. Glad to welcome all the new faces. And with that, I will pass it on to Hal.
Surprise. Hey, Jeff, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
This is my first, I guess, group with YARcce in general, but I've been for the 2 crypto blockchain meetings. Been learning a lot. I live currently in Danville, California, East Bay of San Francisco. Grew up in St. Louis, raised a family in Kansas City. Been on the West Coast for about 15 years now. Looking forward to continuing to learn, and I'll turn it over to my buddy Neil.
Thanks, Hal. I'm Neil Pascal. I live in Central California. We were just talking about, I built a cabin up in the mountains and avoided a huge forest fire this last summer by the skin of my teeth. I'm a Vistage chair, and I got involved in the blockchain last year and really intrigued by it. Ultimately, I think the invention of blockchain technology, the invention of Bitcoin will be seen as one of the most important inventions in the last 100 years, more important than the internet even. So I'm sort of a crypto maximist, and with that, I'll turn it over to Julie.
Thank you, Neil. I'm Julie Ambrose. I'm a neighbor of Ed. We met through yoga at the JCC. I'm an educator, career counselor, instructor, and most recently in January, I took on a role as the executive director of a small education foundation here in the city of Allentown, Pennsylvania. I won't be here next week because I'm visiting my son who lives in Alameda, California, near San Francisco, and we're going to take a drive up to Tahoe. Yes, Hal, I heard that in your introduction. He's been out there 4 years, and other than our trip when we drove through Donner Pass to try to move him there, we haven't been to the Tahoe area, so I'm going there for the weekend. So I won't be with you next week, but I'll be
A
able
lot
to.
of time in Tahoe. We have a place up in Incline.
Ah, nice.
Now, Julie, you've got friends in the area.
I've got friends in the area. Yep. I will pass to Chris.
Good morning, everyone. I'm in Milan right now, Milan, Italy, where Betty and I decided to retire. When I left Citigroup after a expat career that started in 1976. During that career, we lived in various countries. I have 3 daughters. They're all in the US. The oldest one is married with 3 children. The middle one is here with us. She came in last Saturday to check up on her parents. She'll be here for 6 weeks. And she is from Chevy Chase, Maryland, next to Washington, DC. And my youngest daughter, Alessandra, lives in Alexandria and right across the river from DC. Nice to see you all. I hope you enjoy yourselves. And I'll pass it over to Cindy.
Oh, thanks, Chris. I used to live in the Lehigh Valley for about 30 years, and I got to know Ed. That's how I joined the group, through his wife, who was on board of directors when I was running a women's health program for Allentown Hospital. But I moved to, well, I got a PhD from Lehigh about 6 years ago. It took a long time to earn it. I was raising 2 daughters, and I waited till they were far enough along to even start school. So it was a long process, but it's in learning sciences and technology. I've been a long-time teacher, mostly in biology. Most recently, I spent 3 years teaching nutritional sciences at Penn State. And I am currently job searching. And so I have some extra time. And Ed had suggested that there was a lot to do web-wise with YARcce. So I've been trying to work with Mighty Networks and others, and really like the weekly touch base. I feel like I work for you guys, you know, it just makes things better. But if you hear of any great jobs, especially over in Milan, that sounds awesome, or somewhere like that to move to, I'm up for an adventure at this point. And I'm going to pass it on to Barry.
Thank you, Cindy. I'm Barry James. I've got a lot less hair than the last time you saw me. Thank goodness at last. I am a lifelong technologist who does some of the things these days, having just launched something called Remaking Money, because that's what's happening right now. So helping to help the world to rethink what that needs to look like. That's in economics. So I'm hoping, I don't want to intrude on today, but you hopefully saw my email earlier on. I wouldn't say I'm a blockchain maximalist, but I'm kind of through and out the other side. And I think that, I'm trying to remember who said it was right. This, you know, it's about the internet of money and value. It's incredibly important, but it's also a lot of other things as well. And I'm going to stop now because I could go on for hours, as Ed no doubt will attest from having just got his email. And I'll pass on to Ed. Have you gone?
No, I have not. Thank you, Barry.
I think you should carry on from there and make me stop.
We have a new symbol, Barry. Bringing it to a conclusion.
Oh.
Or this one, if we get into an argument. For those of you who weren't in the blockchain thing, we've been using hand signals a little bit more in that particular group for the moment, that picked up from Grace Rachmani some time back and have been trying to pass on. My name's Ed YARcce. I'm in Allentown, Pennsylvania, a block and a half away from Julie, who I think is in her backyard on 28th Street. And I have lived here in Allentown now for 50 years, so my roots are pretty deep. But I knew guys like Chris all the way back in high school, so there are some long friendships here. And I was a Vistage chair for 13 years, very much a part of the Vistage chair community and really value that connection and the level of trust and camaraderie that is there, that is very evident every time we have a blockchain meeting. It starts off at a higher level because of that sense of trust that exists. And I've always enjoyed that. So today I'm hoping we can tap the brains of all of you to say, how do we make this blockchain self-directed study group function most effectively? Since we have educators like Julie and Cindy, who both have PhDs related to education. And Vistage chairs are certainly involved in that. Ray is involved in that. So how we put this to make it more interesting and integrate people into what's going on is kind of my question. I created the words self-directed study group, no idea what they meant or what they will mean going forward. So need to see if we can make it functionally work. I just wanted to get across the message. It's not a course. We don't have a planned content, and this is so dynamically changing. And you get Barry talking about the impacts in the world. You get Neil talking about the impacts. This needs to be a way in which we support each other in learning. So at that point, even though I've been overly long, I will switch off and pass it on. Jack, you haven't introduced yet, have you?
I have not, and thank you, Ed, and thank you for inviting me and the other blockchain newbies into your inner sanctum. Appreciate it. I spent 10 years as a chair up in Connecticut and then carpetbagged down to the Williamsburg, Virginia area about 2 years ago, and currently run a small consulting business focused on leadership and team development. And I am an executive in residence at a local university. And blockchain, well, three reasons. One, just curiosity. Two, my daughter runs a data analytics company, and I'd like to know what she's talking about sometimes. And three, my students at the university keep talking about crypto stuff and how they're making all kinds of money. And I said, well, they're 20. What do they know? They're going to lose it as fast as they make it. But let me learn about this stuff. So that's me. Yeah, I'm also a member of the Mankind Project, which I think Ron is also a member of, and that's a 30-year thing about figuring out what your true north is. So I'll pass it on to whoever hasn't gone yet. I might be the last one. Otherwise, somebody step in.
Steve has not, and also point out both Matthew and Jeff are Mankind Project folks. So we got 4 folks here. Steve?
Oh, you were going to miss me.
No, we have missed you, Steve.
Yeah, we miss seeing you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm Steve Bentley. The Montana is in reference to my location. And I was involved in the professional employee organization industry for the last 30 years or so, and in a finance position. We, meaning my partner and I, have sold off majority interest in the business, and we're now in what I am calling for myself semi-retirement. And been attending soiree here for, well, I don't know, it seems like it's a good long time, but of course time has been so distorted during the pandemic, who knows anymore. And as far as blockchain goes, I guess I want to say I'm agnostic, but I'm also serving as the treasurer for YARcce, and I've issued an edict that we will not be investing in any cryptocurrencies. So take that for what it's worth.
We don't necessarily pay attention to Steve's edicts. I don't know yet. We'll see. Ray, did you?
Got Matthew.
Matthew? Yeah.
Hey guys, it's good to be back. Grandpa duties are fun as taking me away, but I have been a middle-level manager, currently retired, trying to play with ceramics, prose. I'm trying to write some poetry, and I show up and torture musicians on a regular basis at the open mics. Regarding the blockchain, I'm fascinated. I am a generalist and I have an immense curiosity. I think it's going to be an incredibly disruptive technology, and thank you for a seat at this table.
Thank you. I think that's everybody. Did I miss
No.
anybody?
Ray?
Good.
Yeah,
Ray?
Ray.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Ray Four Courts here. So there have been twice in my life that I've been able to say, Ed made me do it. Once was back in the 80s when he got me embroiled in something called the Electronic Networking Association, a quite visionary group dedicated to developing networked organizations. And once again, about a year ago, when he got me involved in YARcce. So it's your fault, Ed. But besides doing things that Ed made me do, I have been in the past a radio journalist and producer in Canada and the United States, ending my radio career as program manager of WNYC-FM in New York, the New York City public radio station. And since then, I have been mostly in Europe for close to 30 years. I currently am in Barcelona, also have a place in the south of France, and run a small company called the Transformation Society. The name says it all, I think. Basically what I'm about is that I love the point of convergence between communication, culture, and technology. So just about everything that I've done in whatever field it has been about that. And with that, I'll turn it, I guess, back to you, Ron, because I think everyone else is gone.
Thank you, right. And excuse me for missing you. I thought you had already been here. Thank you.
Well, you know I wouldn't let you do that, Ron.
I appreciate that. And I appreciate Ed this morning because, in fact, he's going to help facilitate this process, and he's going to do something I can't do that he'll do, I hope, reasonably well. And it's really a stretch for him as well, in that he's going to put up a whiteboard and take some notes and write down some stuff so that it helps us remember what it is. But more importantly, I think each of you should also have your own way to record your comments and thoughts to yourself, because this is really about your own learning, designed to help you think about how to live in an organization like we're creating, YARcce, which is this awesomely big, powerful, complex, completely transparent, democratic organization that's going to grow and live and be there after all of us are dead, or at least us old white guys. And so with that, I'll ask Ed to put up the whiteboard, and I will tell you that I'm going to put you in pairs to answer a question. And I'd like Ed to kind of try to write this question up, or at least you to think about it at the same time. And that is, what are you expecting to learn in YARcce through your involvement?
All right, Ron, just one prep note. I'm going to turn my camera off to do the whiteboard. Otherwise you get nauseous, because I have a tablet and I will have to move its position to write on it. And so far I cannot find my cursor to be able to.
Well, you'll have to find that. Does anybody have any questions about the question?
You're going to need to repeat it for me to write it, Ron.
I will repeat it. What are you expecting to learn in YARcce about blockchain through your involvement?
Oh, about blockchain. Okay.
It's a blockchain question. It's about this whole environment that we're operating in, And when I say blockchain here, I am talking about everything from cryptocurrencies to DAOs. And DAOs are really critical from the sense of what we're planning to do with YARcce. And it's the whole platforms and all of that stuff. What are you interested in learning personally? And if you're ready for that, then I will put you in random breakout groups, and you will be there. You'll get an invite, and in about 10 minutes, you'll get an invite to come back. I may put up a note that says it's halftime. Can everybody see the whiteboard?
Yep.
Yeah.
What are you ready to learn?
What's the question, Ron?
What are you expecting to learn?
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't say I'd be good at this. I just said I'd try it.
That's okay. That's good. I appreciate it. Is everybody in their groups?
I'm leaving now.
Okay. The main room, so that we would have the opportunity to do that, and I would get to participate rather than leave Julie and Emmanuel there. And Emmanuel didn't get a chance to come until late, and he's at a yard sale, not a yard sale, that's some kind of a community garden thing, helping his daughter sell cookies. So that's a wonderful thing.
Did you say a YARcce sale?
What?
Did you say a YARcce sale?
Yeah, well, YARcce sale would be good too. Sell as much YARcce as we can,
Julie
Chris.
was already in her yard, so she must be ready for a YARcce sale.
Mm-hmm.
Yard sale.
Yep.
Nice place. What's that tree behind you?
Dogwood.
That's a
Nice.
beautiful one.
It looks nice, Julie.
Thank you.
We don't even have any leaves yet.
Well, you're a couple
You're
weeks behind us probably out
in
there
a
in Colorado.
Colder area there. Okay.
High elevation. So
Mhm.
What's your elevation, Julie?
I don't know.
It's not that high there.
Maybe
800
Ed
feet, 800, 400.
1,000, less than 1,000.
So we have dogwoods here too, you know, just love them.
does. Mhm.
Dogwoods are big in Pennsylvania.
Okay, I don't know where Ed is with his shared screen, and I would like to invite him to put that shared screen back up. I have turned on the recording, or it just comes back on for the groups. When you're in a small group, you do not get recorded, other than our little group did, because we met in the main room. And here's that. And what we want to kind of do now is to go around one group at a time, and for someone, or for each of us really, to quickly share what we wanted to learn, the primary one thing you wanted to learn. And what's important here is you keep it to 30 seconds if you can, certainly not more than a minute. And I will go first just to model what I want to learn is how do you function in a DAO with a large organization. And I'll pass it down to Julie, who's just next on my list.
Sure. I was wanting to learn how and why an organization would begin using this technology. So why do it? And then how do we do it?
And Jim?
Yes, I'm still interested in the DAO technology for governance for an organization like YARcce. That's about it.
It's just going down then to Hal. No, Neil. Neil, I've got next on my list.
Okay. Yeah, I'm interested in this from purely an investment perspective. I'm too old to try to adopt this technology. So I'm looking for information that will help me determine who the survivors are going to be. You know, I think there's probably 20,000 of these tokens around the world, and 90% of them are going to fail. Who are the survivors? And I look at it from the perspective of what a venture capital firm did back in the 90s, you know, during the evolution of the internet. Here we have an opportunity to get in early with some of these startup development companies. And if you can do that, there's an opportunity to experience, you know, significant economic gains, and that's what I'm interested in.
Great. Chris?
Okay, am I on?
Yes.
I was interested in learning about the DAO software platforms, and how they manage a P2P organization, what advantages they have. But basically, my interest was the software to run it, and that's what I was hoping to learn.
Good. Emmanuel, you're muted and picture blocked. Are you ready to say what you wanted to learn? I'm going to pass it on to Matthew.
I think one of the things I want to learn from YARcce is just all the questions people experienced or civilians like me ask about blockchain and DAO. It just gives me a strong idea of all the fear and resistance that's out there. And then from my experience, give me a seat at the snake oil table is one of my jokes, but is this really going to work? Is it going to reduce government tax revenue issues if they're going to adopt it? What are the countermeasures to, I'm talking about cryptocurrency now. I was joking before we left that I think the number to beat is Bernie Madoff's number. What is it, 56 billion bucks? But there's a lot of fear coming from me.
Yeah.
Let's go to Cindy.
Muted.
I know I'm muted as usual. Anyway, Jeff and I were in this together, and we were both feeling like we need to know a lot more about everything, about the whole thing. We've been kind of immersed in other parts of YARcce, doing other business, but we understand that as an organization we're approaching it, and both of us aren't real sure that we have enough money to be players in it, I guess is what we're feeling. So we know very little about it. So we would like to enter blockchain 101 if that's an option at some point, and not sure that we're going to play yet, that we have enough coins to play with. So is that, Jeff, do you agree with that?
Yeah, and as you were talking, one of the last things I really didn't get to bring up was for me to learn the real value of it. What is valuable about this? How can someone, I haven't heard anybody talk about the value other than to say, this is important, this is important. And so what is important? What is the real importance of cryptocurrency and blockchain?
Thank you, Jeff. And let's go to Jack Gilman.
Let me, yeah, I'm unmuted now, I think. So for me, going into the breakout session, my want was to just be more literate and to be able to speak intelligently to my daughter who runs a technology firm, and to my students who at age 20 know more about this stuff than I ever will. But I had the opportunity to sit with Steve Montana and got YARcce 101. So I have a new perspective now, which is very valuable about what YARcce is today and what it could become in the future, and whether or not blockchain can really impact on that. through DAO, which is a new word for me, but I think I understand what that is now. I guess remains to be seen.
Thank you, Jack. Ray?
Yeah, so I was in with Hal, and we spent some time just getting to know each other before really buckling down. But the thing that I've identified that I really want to learn about blockchain inside YARcce is how the DAO software can evolve to do more than the basically two things that it does today, most of the ones that we've looked at, so that it can really help us to create a truly distributed governance, which I intuit that it can, but we don't know yet. I think the jury's still out. So that's basically what I'm interested in learning is,
thank you, Ray.
how will it evolve and what can it do for us in that regard?
Thank you. Steve? You're muted, Steve.
There we go.
Yeah,
As an
you
all
got it.
YARcce, I am most interested in whatever implementation comes up for blockchain to be sure that it's done efficiently, productively, and non-harmfully.
Great. Thank you. Barry?
Hi. Yes, I'm in seventh heaven because my my question really is, as I was explaining to Ed, blockchain is very much about a dance now in terms of society's perception and adoption of the technology. It's like from here on, it's a walk. So the technology can only advance as far as the zeitgeist. So for that reason, I'm listening to all your questions really intently, and that's what I most want out of this, is to understand what your understanding, the general understanding is, so I can help people to get ahead of the curve and to thrive through the change.
Thank you. Can we go to you now, Emmanuel? I tried earlier. You'll have to unmute.
Yeah, sorry. So for my part, I'm very much interested in perhaps more into the holochain technology than blockchain. And I'm very much interested in how can we use flows of information and the holochain / blockchain technology to manage the flow of information more than speculative markets. So I'm more interested in information per se and how we can use that type of technology to openly and transparently share information.
Thank you. Did you go, Jim?
Yes, he did.
Yes.
Okay. I think that gets everybody then.
How about Ed?
Ed, right. Sorry, you're over on the screen. I forgot you.
Hal also hasn't gone.
Who is that?
Hal has not gone.
Okay, the screens pop around and I can't find you. Okay, so maybe Hal would go and then Jim. And then Ed.
I guess I'm closest to Jack's description of just trying to get more literate in the language of it. I was fascinated with Ray's discussion around how the software can be used to really to authenticate. I naturally go to being authentic, so maybe there's some real value in the connection between the software and the spiritual world that I'm trying to live in. So we'll see where we can take it.
Yes, thank you. And now Ed.
I'm going to talk first and write later. There's two things, one of which I talked with Barry and then one of which came up because I've been listening to everybody since then. I wrote originally with Gary, same thing, kind of Jim and some of the others of us, because we've been dealing with what can blockchain do to enable the management, and I said of a network organization, because of my experience with Ray and others in the Electronic Networking Association. I saw how powerful a network organization is, but I also learned about the fact there were no tools for financial management for a distributed network organization. Now with a distributed blockchain technology, decentralized blockchain technology, we're developing those tools. And so that's part of my interest. The other interest I have is that the technologies that YARcce is supporting in environment and in virus-free air can really help the globe if we can get them distributed and people making them in many places. But today's current perceptions about intellectual property and lack of willingness to share the knowledge is a real hindrance to spreading that quickly to many places where many people could make it and have it adapted to local conditions. So my wonder is, can blockchain, maybe particularly with non-fungible tokens, be a way to reform the whole intellectual property area in ways that empower the technology to spread more rapidly around the world? We've seen with the pandemic the need to share information around the world quickly about this virus, its makeup, and the ways to create solutions. And I feel that the pace of change in the world is picking up rather rapidly, and we're going to need to learn to do that for environmental questions. So my second piece is really part of what we're trying to do. How do we get it out of the lab into the world? And the implication there that it's faster and expedited and gets to the whole world, not just to the place where the company happens to be.
Thank you, Ed. Could you stop sharing so we all come together for a moment?
As soon as I figure out how to save this so I don't lose it. Okay. I think I've done that, and then I'm going to move, and I'll be back with you in a moment here.
Okay. Anybody want to say anything while Ed's trying to come back? This is a fascinating technology that we are using right here to have a group work together that is so separate physically and get to know each other as intimately as we do day to day. We're going to go to another question in the same process, but I wanted to get just hands. Is this working for you? And it's working for me, but I don't know anybody else.
Yeah.
Just okay. All right.
Ron, sorry to butt in, but how are you defining working?
Are you satisfied with the amount of information you're getting and the amount of information you're putting in to this group? You're in a group and you're a full participant. All of us are equal. Do you feel included? Is the process we're running working well enough for you to keep using it? And we'll talk about afterwards maybe what we could do different.
Remembering that what we're looking to do today, eventually here is how do we make this self-directed study group work? And this is always an experiment. We look at YARcce as always an experiment. So part of this is testing ways to do things.
Yeah, the key is that YARcce itself is a lab that we're trying to get out of our thoughts and the experience we're running into the world. We'd like it to be something everybody could do. The next question is, what can you contribute to others' learning? And that is both contribute from the sense of knowledge, but also from the sense of coaching and supporting their digging for more knowledge and they becoming more proficient. Because I know that all of you guys have some experience of doing that with others. Certainly people have been in YARcce a while, and more importantly, probably the Vistage groups. So that's the question. And Jeff put up his little bucket, and that's good. And if we can go back, we will take that question and you'll go into a different group, I hope.
Ron,
Yes.
I'm gonna have to bail. I've got a hard stop here coming up, so don't put me in a group.
All right, I'll try to get you out of a group. Okay. And it's
Ron,
random.
repeat the question, please, Ron.
Let me go to this and I will still repeat the question as I go.
You do your mechanics. Let me repeat the question. What can you contribute to others' learning, both knowledge and assistance in things like coaching and support? What can you contribute to others' learning, both knowledge and coaching or other support to help them learn? Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Ron has to master how we get into groups.
Well, I got you into groups and that's not a problem. But what I wanted to do was to also correct where that it didn't put them in groups, I think would work as well. So I'm cheating. I said random, but I'm actually trying to break up the people that have been here a long time. And I'm opening all groups right now. You get the choice to join. Everybody back, I think, at this point. I don't think you have a choice but to be back. And I guess we lost Emmanuel. He was only going to be here, part of him here ever, and that's okay. And Matthew is still blocked off. I thought Ed was here.
He's here.
There it is, Ed. Okay. And
Shall I go back to the whiteboard?
We can go back to the whiteboard. I think that will be productive, and we can record on the whiteboard what people's thoughts are after this round. I'll go first and tell you that I got into the room with my buddy Jeff because of the fact that Emmanuel dropped out, and consequently we talked about me trying to explain to Jeff what this whole blockchain is, and not the question that I asked me to do. So I failed, but I am here, and let's turn it over to Jeff. You won't say anything else about that?
I don't even know what the original question was, since we got off on such a tangent. And I don't know that I blame it on me, other than I was asking to try to ask the question of what is blockchain as opposed to how it's governed, and how does it, I mean, I'm still confused.
Got it. Okay, let's move on to Chris.
Okay, I was in the room with Jim. What I can offer is what can I contribute to others' learning, and what I can do is I can answer questions. I am happy to share opinions about anything that someone wants to know about. I'm not ready to lead groups. I'm not ready to do that. I've done that in my past, and I have no interest in doing it again. But I'm certainly happy to be consulted if anyone feels that I can contribute to anything that's going on.
You were with Jim?
I was with Jim. I'll turn it over to
So
Jim.
you want to say something, Jim?
I think that I can try to impart whatever knowledge I have on DAOs, whatever I learn about DAO applications. I'm not by any means an expert, but I'm learning, and I'm happy to impart that little bit of knowledge to the group.
Thank you. Neil?
So I'm in this for the investment opportunities. I've done some research. I'd be happy to share that. I have a lot to learn still about where this technology is going. But I've taken courses, I've read some books, I've picked up a little knowledge, and happy to share it.
Thank you. Ray?
Well, I was in with Hal again, so we picked up where we left off from the first session to some extent. But what I can do, what I can contribute to learning inside, again, in the YARcce context, for one thing, I do have a kind of big picture, broad view understanding of blockchain that I can help. I think sometimes helps because when you start getting down into the weeds, it gets very technologically complicated very quickly. But on that broad level, it's sometimes easier to understand what's going on. And in addition to that, as I learned, because I have a lot to learn in this area still, is what I am, something that I'm good at is being able to take something even that I've just learned and restate it or reframe it in a way that helps people get it.
Right.
And so that's something that I might be, useful at
Very
doing.
valuable to all of us. You want to add something to that, Hal?
Not much. I mean, it was fascinating listening to Ray because he exactly is right. He's good at reframing, and he's done a lot of thought about how this will affect people and the reputation. And there's just, so for me, it's all about curiosity, asking questions, trying to be as good a listener as I can. The tools of the Vistage chair, right?
Right. Thank you. Cindy?
Well, I was asking a lot more questions of Neil, and so we had a very good conversation, but I'm willing to learn a lot about this. I'm very curious about it and would like to know more. And so.
Thank you. Julie?
I was in the group with Barry, and I shared that I don't think I have anything to contribute related to blockchain. The things that I could help people learn would be, I work with Zoom all the time as an online instructor. So there are techniques and tools and dimensions of this that we could take greater advantage of if necessary at our meetings, and how we share information with one another and work in groups. And I'll pass it to Barry to finish telling about our session.
Yeah, thanks, Julie. So yeah, I hope I can help to flesh out some of the knowledge, and in particular, I think someone mentioned earlier that it's often difficult to know fact from opinion, and I can help a bit with that. So, you know, there's a grey area in the middle, and we want to shrink that, but, you know, be able to say, look, that this is absolutely true because 2 and 2 make 4, and on the other side say, no, that's a matter of opinion, and there's an alternative one. So that, plus a bit like Ray said, and perhaps a bit like Jeff, I hope to be able to clarify and tell the stories and find the stories and the case studies that will help make this real to people and enable them to engage.
Thank you. You want to go ahead, Matthew?
Sure. It's a hard question for me to answer, and I'll probably start here, which is distributed autonomous organizations. It's got such a nice ring to it when you're thinking about I Ching or DAO, rooted in nature. Some of the questions I have regarding that would be, how do you build consensus? How do you get everybody to participate? Can you? Is that a reasonable expectation? Even a possibility? And then regarding this group, I'm kind of backing into that. This group really does, well, actually, I'm not sure what kind of like formal structure we have to give people feedback to help folks out. And then along those lines, I don't think we should try to be all things to all people, because we're already trying to pack a lot into 2 hours. So those are some of my thoughts I expressed to Ed.
Thank you. Ed, or anybody else that hasn't gone yet?
Did Neil go?
I want to say one more thing before I go.
Okay, Jeff, not now though.
That's
Go to
fine.
the
That's
end.
fine. Anybody else?
Neil?
Go in.
I thought so. Ed, why don't you stop sharing and come back?
Well, let me say my comments so I can write them. And that would be that I can bring people with expertise to share. That's what I feel I can contribute so they can share their knowledge, and that's what I will work to do. And let
You
me
can write and talk at the same time.
Yeah, it's not easy, believe me.
Impressed.
Not easy with this technology. My cursor has failed. I'm using the stylus, and
You're not chewing gum as well, are you?
And you can unmute your camera and let your camera show you again.
I have to first of all get it from pointing to the ceiling.
You
Hey,
need
Ron?
Yeah.
You need a blockchain pointer.
Can I just add, I didn't really say what I could contribute. I was talking about what I could learn, but
Thank
similar
you.
to Julie, I've created courses and run courses. So I would be
Right.
willing to work together to do something like that as we learn more together about this.
Right. Thank
And
you.
let me say too, if I can, on top of that, because Ron, we were off on a tangent, and but I've had a lot of experience in classrooms in front of children, interacting with them around themes of emotional awareness, and I think adults need the very same kind of experience. And so I'm going to be running some experiments, and so I hope you guys can also answer my question that I put on Mighty Networks with, what do you think of when you hear the word myth, M-Y-T-H? I'd like to know. That's what I got.
Thank you. Here we are all back together. If anybody wants to say anything right now, you've got a chance to. Otherwise, we'll start a checkout process.
I just want to emphasize the point that Matthew was making with me, and that is a way to get feedback in this process as we get blockchain self-directed study group. That would be really valuable to have, so people are saying, yeah, I'm getting what I need, or here's what else I need. And although Julie just disappeared because she had to get a power cord, I really want to tap Julie and Cindy's knowledge. When I heard Julie talk about more techniques for Zoom, I certainly do not feel any high degree of expertise. And to be able to get Julie some of these sessions that we're doing would really be nice. And Cindy, your thoughts, although, as I said, I don't see this as a course in the traditional sense, but there still certainly is learning involved in here, so those principles apply. But I don't know, what's really the unique differences of self-directed learning versus where somebody else has plotted the course and you're just following their course on a journey that they've planned for you with a particular destination. This journey does not have a destination. It's not a course in that sense.
Well, one thing is, you can put these boards that you're creating into the chat rooms, and you can also control them with your keyboard instead of having to try to write. So we might be able to help you with that, so that people don't have to worry about their penmanship or what people are going to read later. Just a thought.
No, and I will apologize for the penmanship, but I cannot do keyboard. I have carpal tunnel issues.
No. I wasn't trying. I went in general. I've been able to read your notes. I just meant it's easier.
general,
We're used to typing. We're used to
Yes, I agree. It would be much if somebody else is willing to do the typing, that could work. But for me, my wrist will not allow that.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I did too much typing in the past in this mode of communicating.
Yeah, I'd like to ask a question, or at least if time allows. Ed, you had the whiteboard, right? At some point, can you summarize the kinds of things that we talked about that can help the blockchain group, or that we can help the blockchain group with, which was the original topic of this meeting? So if I looked at the agenda, it was how can this group, help the blockchain group? I think that was a way to put it.
Yep.
Can you pick out like a few items that we discussed that address that? Very quickly, you don't have to explain, just read whatever is on your board.
What I can do is dictate what's on the board because, again, I don't keyboard, but my phone software from Google is extremely good at voice recognition. So, and I wouldn't want to summarize because then my biases would be there. I would put it together and share it, and we can see which pieces somebody can jump onto. I may try to go back and listen to the comments and add to it besides what I was writing quickly where I may have missed things.
Okay.
So I'll produce some kind of document as a result of this and share it.
In my networks?
More there and perhaps more broadly with the blockchain group for the folks who weren't there yet.
Okay.
I'd like to see how, I'd like to see something that we can follow up from this meeting that we can look at and say,
Yeah,
okay,
that would be great.
Meeting, and they're 10 points, 5 points, 3 points, whatever they are.
Yeah, that was the whole point of getting the whiteboard, so that we do have a group memory and can move things forward basis, just talking about it, and then it doesn't move forward, which I know is one of your helpful nudges, Chris.
Yeah, and perhaps you can then ask the blockchain group at the next meeting that you have, whether the things that we came up with at this point, they think are helpful.
And hopefully Neil and Hal and Barry and Jim and I who are there, and Ron who's been there a little bit, and Jeff wants to join in on some of this. I'm hoping maybe Julie and Cindy will find a way in their schedule to pop in on one and kind of view it as a educational process and say, hey, Ed, here's some other things we can do with Zoom. I was saying this, Julie, when you were away getting your power cord, that I really appreciate your saying you know more about Zoom and some other techniques, and because do not have those techniques at hand and would appreciate instruction and guidance and help even.
Right.
So,
Okay, anybody else need to say anything, or I will start the checkout and you can say something in the checkout as well. Thank you for everybody participating so lively and intently with what we're doing. And I want to give you just a quick preview is that on May the 1st, on this Saturday meeting, Jim is going to do a kind of workshop on DAO and blockchain and ask people for feedback and all that stuff. On 5/8, John is going to do something on Energy 18H, and more importantly, on what we need to do as an accelerator or incubator and what we've done for them. On the 15th, Jeff is going to do something on emotional intelligence. On the 22nd, we have a discussion about the grid, where the author of a book on the grid is coming to give us a presentation. And Ed, you might give us the name of that. And then on the 29th, Ray is going to talk about the information content that is in YARcce and how it's all structured. With that,
I'll just say that the 22nd is Peter Kelly Detweiler.
Peter Kelly, right.
It's the electric grid we're talking about and the impacts of renewable energy and the transition to get to renewable energy and what the implications are on the grid and on electric power in general. He's extremely knowledgeable. I've gone to 2 paid workshops of his already in the last 6 or 8 months. His book is coming out June 15th, so this is in advance of the book coming out. I ordered the book months ago, even before we agreed that he would do a presentation with YARcce. He also does a regular Zoom session, I'm sorry, not Zoom session, a regular video report on LinkedIn weekly about developments in the energy space. And in addition to that, he writes for, I believe it's Forbes.com. And he's a good communicator and presenter, comes out of the electric energy, a senior executive there, and is extremely knowledgeable about the grid, about the impacts of hydrogen. And of course, blockchain will get into all of that.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and check out, Ed?
And I really appreciate the fact that some of the folks like Neil and Hal have joined us today, who haven't been here before, who've been part of the blockchain group, so we can cross-pollinate between the two. And hopefully you can carry back some of the thoughts that were shared here about how we can make this self-directed process work better. And I'm appreciative that Neil is going to be willing to share his knowledge in the not too distant future as soon as we find an agreeable date, trying to get the folks in New Zealand who haven't been able to join us because we've been too early in the morning for them. We're going to try to do later in the day. So it's a pleasure, as always, on this Saturday morning, and I will work to get some of that summary distributed in some way, and I'll pass it on to Neil since I was pointing to him.
You're muted, Neil.
Sorry.
No problem.
Thanks, Ed. Appreciate the opportunity to be with you this morning. Happy to participate from the perspective of blockchain technology, and hope to see you in a future meeting.
And you're going to pass it too?
Let's go to Jim.
All right. Nice seeing all of you guys again today, and I'm interested in what Ed summarizes that we can do to help the blockchain self-study group. And I'll look forward to seeing you next week. And I'll pass it on to Ray.
And like Ed, I'm very pleased to see some new people here and wish you welcome. It's been a pleasure also for me to get to know Hal a little bit more, since we got 2 sessions together and got to exchange some ideas that were quite interesting. In addition to exchanging information on the questions that were asked. So looking forward to continuing that and to seeing you all again soon. and I will pass it on to Chris.
Neil and Hal, welcome. We hope to see you again. Barry, nice to see you for the second time, I think, here. So welcome. It was a good meeting, and I hope to see you next week. I'll pass it on to Jeff.
Hey guys, thank you. Gratitude, glad to be here. Glad to meet new people, and really look forward to learning, I think, more in depth about the value of all this, what we're talking about. And I want to just share with you before I go. I'm gonna turn my camera around here. I'm in Orlando. If you remember, several years ago now, I don't remember how long, 5, 6, 7 years ago, there was the Pulse shooting, and as a memorial, they have created this beautiful labyrinthine park, and this is a labyrinth, and around the labyrinth are all the names of all the people, all the 49 victims of that horrible shooting. If nothing else, just to kind of remind us that we don't live in the world in a vacuum. The world, we're not in a vacuum. This is about value and about what we can do to help the world. And that's, I'm gonna get ready to walk this labyrinth. And I thank you for, the meeting, and appreciate the opportunity to be here with y'all. And I pass it to Cindy.
Oh, thanks, Jeff. Thank you very much. I enjoyed conversations with both of the people I was with, and I've learned a lot today, and I'm feeling excited about learning more about blockchain and DAO, and how I could use my talents to help with everybody. And I'll pass it on to Julie.
Thanks, Cindy. So I'm really excited to see my son, so much so that I thought this week was next week. So I actually don't go there for 2 weeks. So I should be able to see you next week. I enjoyed my conversations this morning and getting to know Barry better. And I love the synergies that we're finding between people in the group. I think that's really fabulous. So that keeps me excited to come back each week. So thank you for that. And I'm not sure who we haven't heard from. Did we hear from you, Barry? All right, I'll pass to you.
Great. Well, I'm going to echo what you just said, and it's great getting to know some of you folks here, and the more I get to know, the more exciting it seems to me. And have some great conversations with Ed and Julie and others on in the chat as well. So I'm delighted to have been here today, and looking forward to what we can conjure together. We can do some good, I reckon.
Super. Is that everybody? No, we didn't get Hal.
How about Hal?
Sure. I was lucky enough to spend quite a bit of time with Ray today. That was great. It really helped inspire and trigger some ideas that I had no sense of before. I've been gaining some literacy and some language that I didn't have. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the continuing on. So thanks for inviting me. Anybody else who hasn't gone?
Matthew.
That's it.
Hey guys.
So, Matthew.
Anyways, if I can nominate Neil to share, I think he said you can share some of that investment research that you've done. If you can give us a speech or a small summary of one of the meetings, that would be awesome. You hit my greed nerve. 453 to 49,000 bucks sounds close enough, but anyways, thank you guys for letting me be here at this very embryonic state of making this thing work. Thank you.
Is that everybody? Okay. Bye-bye, folks. See you next week.
Thanks,
Or
everyone.
some of you before then, I am sure.